Now tonight I want you to turn with me to the 3rd chapter of the book of Daniel. Daniel, the 3rd chapter. And I would like to ask, how many people are here tonight? You're under 25 years of age. I want you to stand up. You're under 25. Stand up. Is anybody here over 25? You may sit down. It's almost everybody. And certainly it's almost 100% up in the upper galleries. The 3rd chapter of the book of Daniel. You know, the Bible is filled with drama. It's one of the most dramatic books in all the world. If you want to read some heavy drama or light drama and thrilling drama, you read the Bible. Some of the greatest motion pictures that have ever been made around the Bible. And one of the most dramatic scenes in all the Bible is this 3rd chapter of Genesis. I don't know whether Cecil B. DeMille or some of the great producers ever made a picture on this chapter or not, but it would make a great and thrilling motion picture. Here's the story of the greatest king in the world at that time, and perhaps, possibly, the greatest king of all time, Nebuchadnezzar. He ruled most of the known world from a great city called Babylon. And he attacked the little country of Israel. And he took some captives out of Israel and took them back to Babylon, hundreds of miles from home. And there he decided to choose a few of them, train them to be leaders in Babylon, and send them to school and learn all the ways of the Babylonians. And he chose at least 4 that we know about: Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. Those 4 young men in their teens were chosen to be leaders and to be trained in Babylon. And they formed a small group of people who decided that even though they were hundreds of miles from home, in a pagan, idolatrous, immoral city, that they were going to live for God. Very much like the Holy Club that Whitfield and the Wesleys went to at Oxford. These were a handful of young men that decided they would not compromise their faith in the true and the living God. They decided to put God first in their lives, no matter what the cost. And they were promoted. Daniel eventually became prime minister of Babylon and kept his faith all the time. In fact, Daniel is one of the men in the Bible of which nothing is said against him. Daniel was almost the perfect man, and yet he was prime minister in a pagan, immoral, idolatrous nation. And one day, Nebuchadnezzar got an idea. Somebody talked him into it, perhaps some of his advisors. They said, "Nebuchadnezzar, you're the greatest king in the world," and he began to believe it. "You're the greatest man that's ever lived. Why don't you build a statue to yourself and make all the world worship your statue?" So he built a golden image, 99 feet tall, and gathered people from all over the world to Babylon. He brought the lords and the ladies. He brought the kings. He brought presidents. He brought prime ministers. He brought military leaders from many of the countries of the world. All the races, all the nationalities were represented. And then he gave a command. He commanded that they all bow down and worship that statue. And this posed a dilemma for these young Jews who held to their faith in God. I wish we could see that scene reenacted someday on a screen. What a colorful scene it must have been. Because he had the orchestras playing, it gives us the names of the different instruments that they were using. Some of them we use today, like the guitar and so forth. Then the trumpet sounded. Then a herald made an announcement. And here was his announcement. "To you it is commanded, O people, all nations, all languages, that when you hear the sound of the music, fall down and worship the statue, the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever refuses to fall down and worship will be cast into a fiery furnace and executed in the same hour. In other words, if you don't worship that statue, you're going to be immediately executed by burning. And you know, false religion throughout history has never hesitated to use force, to make, to coerce. The Roman emperors used to have the people in Rome worship them. And many places in history, false religion, state religion, has coerced people to worship at false idols. And the Bible teaches that as we approach the end of the age, and as Antichrist begins to appear, that there's going to be a great world religion, and we will be forced to bow down and worship the beast. He's called in the 13th of Revelation a beast, and he'll have a number, 666. And the Bible teaches that he will have total economic control, because without his mark,